as we all fly away. So find a way to
Hello everyone, my name is Monica and thank you so much for being part of our Lightworker community. So today's video is titled Stop Waiting for a Hero and Be Your Own Hero. So this occurred to me while I was on a run. I don't know how or why it came up, but I was just thinking about it, and I started thinking about how there are so many superhero movies coming out, and there are so many that have been coming out for, I don't know, maybe the last few years. Like, it's just been pretty consistent with like one after another with Marvel and with DC and with just every single character ever. It seems like in these comic books are now getting their own movies, and then they even had the whole series of movies to watch up until, I think it was called the End Game or something like that, which I never saw. I've seen some of the superhero movies, but I haven't watched them all. For me, I'm not like a huge fan of them because, I don't know, I get bored when I watch all of the fighting scenes. It just seems to drag on and on and on and on. But I will say that my favorite superhero movie of all time is Spider-Man, the first one with Tobey Maguire and with Kirsten Dunst, because I watched that around the time when I was homeless and I was like kind of couch surfing with my mom with like strangers, and they ended up having a copy of that movie, and I'd never seen it, and I was bored one day with nothing to do, so I popped it in and I watched it and just really related to it because Peter Parker was so incredibly poor, and he had that sad little apartment with like one room, and he didn't have his own bathroom or kitchen or anything like that, and everyone else in the movie seemed to be doing pretty good. Like his best friend, who was played by James Franco, was super rich, and Mary Jane, played by Kirsten Dunst, seemed to be doing well with her acting, and she had nice things and whatever. So I just really related to that character. He just was giving so much and not seeming to get much back in return, and he was just struggling so hard even though he was helping so many people, and that really resonated with me. And so then that was the first superhero movie I ever watched where I felt like I might actually like them, because before that I never had the urge to watch them ever. And since then I've watched a few. I haven't watched any of the newer Spider-Mans because I'm pretty loyal to the Tobey Maguire ones, and I'm just not itching to see any of the other ones that have come out. Like I've seen a few, like Wonder Woman, and I've seen Batman, the ones with Christian Bale, and some of the Marvel DC. I couldn't even name the ones I've seen. I kind of like watch them and kind of forget them. And anyway, so I was thinking about like, why now? Why are there so many superhero movies coming out over these last few years? Like, have they run out of ideas? Are they trying to make a statement about something? Like, what is the intention behind all of this? And for me, what came up was the intention is to have people looking for a hero, someone to save them. But the question is, to save them for what? Why did all of these movies come out around the same time, all the way up until this time here in 2020? And then I thought about it. It's the virus. It's the pandemic. This is just my theory. This is just what I came up with. I didn't do any research on this. This is just what makes sense in my brain. And it seems like they're conditioning us, you know, Hollywood, the movies, to want to be saved, and to be saved from what? Like I said, the virus, the pandemic. Everyone's freaking out. When people are in fear, they tend to look for a savior, like, someone help me, come and save me, please. And who is the person that they keep directing all of the attention, and the person who's going to quote unquote save all of us right now? It's Mr. Bill Gates, Mr. Microsoft himself. He's supposed to be saving the entire world with these mandatory vaccines. And a lot of people are excited about this or looking forward to this or open to this or wanting this. And I'm not really opposed if what people want to do with their body. If people want to get vaccines, you know, that's their deal. But I'm not going to have it forced upon me. That is not something that I signed up for. I do not want to be injected with some toxic cocktail with things like mercury and aborted fetal cells and formaldehyde and all kinds of like junk that should not be in the body. That does not promote health. I have no idea how they even came up with that. Like, to me, it just makes no sense. And if we're so terrified of this virus, why are we injecting it in us? And they haven't found a cure, supposedly, and they're saying that people who have already gotten the virus can still get it again, and that it hasn't been isolated, and there hasn't really been an accurate test because it can't be isolated, which means they really can't come up with a vaccine for it. And then they want this whole digital ID certificate in your arm or your wrist to like chip you instead of just giving you a piece of paper. None of that sounds okay to me. I do not agree with any of that. And again, I don't care if other people agree with it. Fine, that's your life, that's your body, do what you want with it, but I don't agree with it. And I just feel really called to make a video and talk about this right now. I haven't really talked too much about this side on my channel because I know it's super controversial, but I do feel the need to talk about it right now because I'm getting pretty frustrated with the whole situation. And the whole point of this is you don't need to look for someone else to save you. We look too much outside of ourselves for people, for the answers from other people, for people to help us, to save us, to do whatever they want. Like, we depend too much on outside help and too much on people, and we don't believe in ourselves enough and know that we have all the power and the knowledge and the wisdom that we need in ourselves. And I'm not even trying to like really tell people this. I'm just trying to remind people of this who have forgotten, because we do get so distracted with everything going on in the world that we look completely outside of ourselves and don't go within. And because I've had a lot of time on my hands and I can go within, I like to share this information for anybody who wants to listen. You know, it's optional. You don't have to listen to me. You can turn this video off if you want. But the point is, I know there have been times in my life where I was like, oh, I'm so lonely. I wish I had a relationship or friends or somebody to save me from this loneliness, not realizing that I can, on my own, attract the right people into my life. Because a lot of times when people are lonely and they're seeking a relationship, if they're desperate, they tend to just settle for the first person that comes along, even if it doesn't feel like a good match to them, just so they can try to save themselves from that loneliness. And what ends up happening most of the time is when they're with somebody that they truly don't want to be with, they just complain and complain and complain about that person. I've seen that so many times in my friend group. Oh, I'm so lonely, I need a relationship, I need a man. Then they get one, and then all they do is complain about that person. So that's not the answer, and they still hadn't figured that out. I'm not sure if they'll ever figure that out, that they really have to go within themselves and really figure out their own stuff before trying to make a relationship work with someone else. Because another person is not going to make you happy. I think the best way to be in a relationship is if you're both already happy with yourselves and with your life, and you come together and it's just even better than before. You both complement each other in the relationship. I've been times where I couldn't pay my bills or something like that, and I was wishing and hoping for a savior, somebody to come and save me from poverty and to help me be rich and like pay for things for me or something, or just give me money, like some philanthropist who was like a hero I just come across on the street. I tell him my sob story and then he just gives me $1 million, you know, something like that, like a savior. And then I found law of attraction. I'm like, no, I can be my own savior with help from the universe, with getting my mind right and getting into alignment. I can bring my own abundance. I can feel my own love. I can feel my own happiness. I can find things to do for myself before trying to attract outside help. Now, I'm not saying you don't ever need help from anybody else. It's helpful sometimes to, you know, like talk to a therapist or talk it out with friends or listen to these YouTube videos. You know, there's a lot of them for self-help, just like what I'm doing here. But that doesn't mean that you absolutely need someone else outside of you to save you. And then back to this whole pandemic thing and this whole vaccine thing, I feel like it doesn't make any sense, because in my mind, from what I know and intuitively from research, from what just makes sense, is that a healthy lifestyle is going to help you the most, more than some vaccine. We need to be eating healthy. That means a lot of fresh fruits, a lot of vegetables, a lot of whole plant foods. We need sunshine, the vitamin D. We need fresh air instead of recycled stale air within a mask, or like staying in our homes 24/7, which also I think can cause more isolation, more depression, feeling disconnected because we're not getting outside in nature. And it makes more sense to me to be not fearful, like the news and mainstream media keeps trying to feed us, is more fear. Be afraid, be afraid. That's going to lower your immune system. So instead, just having more positive feelings about, you know, just feeling good. Like when you eat healthy, you feel really good, and then you feel good about that. And then when you're outside, you feel really good. When you're getting sunshine, when you're getting fresh air, when you're going to exercise, if you're going for walks or you're going for runs or whatever it is, that's much better than just staying put in one spot. Unless your immune system is already compromised, maybe you need to build it back up before you go outside and do all those things. But if you're already pretty healthy, it doesn't make sense to stay inside and wait for some, like I said, some toxic chemical compound, and then for us not even to have the choice for it to be injected into our bodies or not. That doesn't sound like health to me, and that doesn't sound like freedom. Because if I don't have freedom over my own body, if we don't have freedom over our own bodies, what do we actually have freedom for in this world? It feels like nothing. So I don't know about you guys, but I am not waiting for a savior like Mr. Gates to come and force me to do something with my body I don't really want to do, because I don't trust him. He's not a doctor. He's not a scientist. Even if he was, that doesn't mean I would necessarily trust him. He doesn't have a college degree. Why would he know what's better for me than I know what's for me? We all know what's good for us deep down. Like I said, it makes sense to be eating healthy, to be exercising, to be drinking plenty of water, to be thinking positive thoughts, to be getting fresh air, to be out in the sun, to be with our loved ones and socializing. Like, we are very social creatures. We are not meant to be isolated in these boxes, which are our houses, all the time. It doesn't work that way, and it's not a good quality of life, in my opinion. I would rather have a shorter life and have a good quality of life and not be terrified of everything out in the world and having other people save me and tell me what I need to do with my body, because those people don't necessarily have your best interest in mind. They really don't. Yes, Bill Gates has provided a lot of vaccinations and a lot of philanthropy in the past, but people don't research the damage that has done to a lot of people, and how he's banned in some countries like India because of all of the bad effects that have happened to the children there. So once again, I just want to remind you of just how powerful you are. Don't externalize your power to everybody else. Believe in yourself. Start to think for yourself. Start to research for yourself. Research both sides, not just what the mainstream media is telling you. Decide what you think is right for you and for your body. And the news, mainstream media, the health organizations, they're not going to tell us how to boost our immune system. They're not going to tell us to eat healthier. They're not going to tell us to have more fruits and vegetables, because fruits and vegetables have all the vitamins and minerals we need. And instead of just eating more of those, if we have a deficiency in something, we're told to just supplement it, like get an artificial supplement, which doesn't make sense. If someone told me, oh, you're deficient in vitamin A, I would be researching what plant foods have vitamin A in it, what fruits and vegetables do. And then I would eat more of that instead of just taking something over the counter. Like, for me, that's what makes the most sense. And that I try to do whatever is the most natural, because I don't like all of the synthetic, man-made in a lab, chemical pills and potions and stuff that the doctors come up with. And I'm not saying I'm like anti-medical establishment or anything. If I have a heart attack, or if I get into a car accident, or I break my leg, I'm gonna go to the hospital, and I do trust the doctors with my life in that case. But I'm not going to rely on them to preventing things for me. They're not preventative. They just treat the symptoms, not the cause. So I, on my own, would look for what's the cause, what can I do to change my lifestyle to cure it, you know, if it's possible to cure it, or at least make it more manageable so I'm not taking as many medications. So that is my video for today. I hope that helped you guys think a little bit more if you haven't really thought too much about the vaccines or about trying to find someone to save you from all of your problems. You can save you. Use the law of attraction, utilize it, attract what it is that you want in your life, make the best decisions you feel like you can for yourself, use your intuition, don't just listen to all the bullshit that's going on outside of yourself unless it resonates with you and it makes sense. And if it's something that evokes more of a love feeling versus fear, I don't agree with making decisions just out of fear, like, oh, I have to do this because they said if I don't do this, this is gonna happen. I mean, it's good to be cautious, and it's good to be as preventative as possible, but if all your decisions are just made because you're so afraid of everything, that's not a good quality of life. Make decisions out of love. Do things for yourself, for your body, because you love your body, and because you love yourself, and because you love others, and let that show and reflect in your character. So until next time, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye everyone.